Welcome, everybody, to Catch the Wave, DNVR show on the Colorado Rapids as we follow the club's run to the MLS Cup. The Rapids are the number one seed in the Western Conference Finals, coming off a bye in the first round. We are here to preview it all with you. Very excited to introduce my guest. I'm joined here on the far end there by Matt Pollard, host of Holding the Highline podcast, Rapids beat reporter. Find him at LWS Matt Pollard on Twitter. Matt does a ton of stuff, so you kind of got to check that out to get the full menu. Matt, how are you doing? Welcome.
Andre, thanks for having me. Thanks to DNVR Sports for having us. Excited to be here on a Taco Tuesday talking the footy.
Damn straight. Yeah, we've got some great games coming up as well, and just 2 days away. Juanners also with us. You know him as Juanners. I'll be referring to him as Juan. Outstanding host of the Centennial 38 podcast. These guys did a crossover episode. Some great content on there. Check him out on Twitter at Juanners FC, and check out C38 and all the amazing stuff they do for Rapids fans at C38SG on Twitter. Juan, how are you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good. How are you feeling, man?
I'm doing great. I cannot wait to see what you guys have in store with the TIFO Thursday.
Oh yeah, it's an interesting one. I think
State secrets.
I will keep it. I'll tease a little bit, anything. But it's one that a lot of people will probably not get, but it'll be a small nod to some fans out there that's like, okay, I see where that comes from. It's a cultural reference. Still an awesome TIFO. It stands by itself as a nice kind of artwork piece.
Playoff TIFO, playoff atmosphere, playoff vibes. It is what makes the MLS unique. Best on best to decide a domestic league. You don't get to see it all the time. It's what makes it so fun. Let's get into it, though. What's made this season stand out for you guys? Lowest payroll in the MLS. At some point, Matt, I saw they were like 50-1 favorites to win the cup. Now plus 350, so that's 3.5 to 1. How do we get here, man?
You saw an absolute maximization of what every single person within the organization, going down to the medical staff, all the way up to Porrick Smith and Robin Fraser, and what they've done to achieve their potential. You're talking about players like Kellyn Acosta, who has achieved his potential, getting back in with the national team. Jonathan Lewis, who has come up late as well. Austin Trusty, who is fantastic. There's no player across the entire, other than maybe Cole Bassett, with him being post-Bassett. We can talk about that with some of his finishing issues. Every single other player on this roster achieved the potential that they had or maintained of what they already did very well. And you combine that with very good coaching. You combine that with just how they were spectacularly consistent in a league of chaos and inconsistency. And in that, the proverbial cream rose to the top. I'm still kind of in shock. I don't know about you, Juan, in this one. Like, I thought this was plausible. I didn't think it was actually possible, and I'm so excited for the playoffs because I know that this team hasn't fully unleashed what they're capable of in this season.
Yeah, and of course it took an insane decision day to get here as well, and Juan, you're still coming off that high?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think I told everyone here before, on all my kind of socials and stuff like that, before the game had even started, I was already kind of on a high just because our tailgate that C38 hosts had at least 2,000 plus. And we also did some charity stuff that I like to plug all the time that C38 did. We managed to get 3,000 pairs of socks and underwear between all of us. And so already before the game, I was like, win, lose, or draw, it doesn't matter. It's been a good day so far. The weather was perfect. And then they won. And then all the other results, I'm looking at my phone, looking at the game, looking at my phone. And then sure enough, they clinched first place in the West. And I couldn't believe it at that point.
There was a visceral moment for me in the stadium. I was up in the press box. Obviously, Juan, you were in the south stands in 117 of you saw one of the assistant coaches, I don't remember who it was, had their phone and then immediately started talking. And then you saw Jonathan Lewis turn around and then do a fist pump in the air. And it was almost like a visceral, it wasn't even everybody's phones went off. It was just an emotional, there's a good thing that happened in the force, a simultaneous eruption within DSG, almost emotionally realizing the results went their way. Obviously, Sporting Kansas City lost to the death. Seattle ended up drawing in Vancouver. The Rapids won the West, and kind of just the emotional, how did this happen? How are we here? It feels so good, but at the same time, this team's just getting started.
Yeah, it's been pretty incredible. Of course, they were a playoff team last year, so I think there is this weird contrast of like lowest payroll and 50 to, but at the same, this was just the 5th seed in the West last year, like this growth, we've seen it, and maybe we didn't expect to reach this high this soon, but the trajectory was clear. And I mean, you do a good job of highlighting the players that have made this happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think it was, well, I think the issue that you have, Andre, once you actually get to the top of the Western Conference is just the level of talent that you have with the other teams and everything. Sporting Kansas City with how good they are, Sporting Fit, Graham Zusi, who's still playing well as a 35-year-old. And, they've got fantastic. I think the key thing there is, as we'll get to in a little bit, there's a clear player for the Portland Timbers who you're eyeing in on. You look at the Seattle Sounders, a Jordan Morris, a Raul Ruidiaz, there's clear stars of,
right,
an individual defines the team and everything. We look at the Nuggets, it starts with Joker, it starts with Jamal and everything. And so you look at the Rapids and it's a collection of, there's no one player who stands out. And I think you combine that with the payroll, the narrative that you had around MLS in the 3.0 era, where it's largely been about, you look at the MLS Cup winners, you look at the guys who make it to the finals and everything, it's the teams that spend the most. So in a lot of ways, the Rapids are an interesting experiment in what can you do if you get the academy right, you have a really good head coach, you're consistent, you have a lot of depth, and you have 5 or 6 good players. You have a handful of guys that are above average, no individual great or elite player. Can the sum of the parts be better? Can they be better than the sum of their parts? Yep. And soccer is a team's game. And yes, Argentina had Lionel Messi and Portugal has Cristiano Ronaldo, but France had the best team. And I think the Rapids are capable of being the best team, even if there's no one that you guys look out there and say, oh, Michael Barrios is their Kylian Mbappe, for example.
Yeah, no, 100%. It really has. While other teams have stars, Juan, they attack you in waves, and the collective is the star. The depth is the star.
And just to add to that, I mean, not only did we just kind of collect for a lot of it is we collected players that were no longer needed, that were surplus to requirements from other teams, and
right. The island of misfit toys is something you'll hear quite often about this group. Yeah.
Plenty of people within I've heard that reference a lot around just like the discussion around the Rapids is this team is really just a bunch of like kind of outcasts and surplus to requirement players that
right.
Our general manager Porrick Smith, and all kudos to him for building a squad as deep as it has been. Yeah. I have a little joke here because he does a little stirring pot. Yeah. We like to call him Chef Porrick because we always just say let him cook.
Let Porrick cook, absolutely, baby.
And so that's where that comes from. I think a lot of the roster building is definitely what has made this team so special.
Yeah. I mean, how can you not root for this group? Like,
right.
If you love team sports, this Rapids team is what we love about team sports.
Yes, it is Moneyball meets the Revenge of the Island of Misfit Toys.
Yes, 100%. I love that. You're going to have to get more specific with me, though, Matt, because I want one word to define this Rapids team now.
Collective.
Expand on that.
Well, I would say, it's
hard to disagree, but yes.
Yeah, I would say, they're a team sport. It's all about the group. It's a group that is extremely unselfish. They don't care who gets the credit and everything. I can tell you right now, as good as some of the attacking pieces that they have, if they win MLS Cup, they don't care who gets the goal. And if anything, it will be more about the guy who made the stop to get the ball back to then pass forward and everything. Like, it is so, like, it's not even about what do I need to do for myself or anything. It's entirely how were they helping the group. And I was at training today and everything, and there's a backup fullback, Jeremy Kellyn, who was on loan for most of the regular season and everything, and he's coming in and he's running sprints and helping with finishing drills for some of the strikers and everything. And so is Jeremy Kellyn going to play in these playoffs? Probably not, unless there's a massive injury at the right back position, but he's doing that so that a Michael Barrios, so that a Diego Rubio can be 5% better on Thursday than they would have been, because Steven Beitashour and Keegan Rosenberry are already done. If they're 5% better and Diego Rubio scores a goal because of an extra run because he did 10, 15 reps with him, then Jeremy Kellyn is helping with him. And in that, it is a collective result, even though individually Jeremy Kellyn might not be playing on Thursday.
And you really see Robin Fraser's identity in that.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is a team that I think already had a really good setup with that, and Robin's taken it to a whole nother level. This team is, I would say, the identities match more so than Robin came in and had to establish. He just elevated it, and I think that just speaks to someone who, for my money, should be coach of the year this season, how he's gotten, we have a saying in soccer, a good manager adds 20%, a bad manager reduces everything 20%. He's gotten 20% more out of every single guy, and they as a collective, that's just compounded itself.
100%. Love that. Juan, if you were to pick one word to describe this group.
So I went with I like that word a lot more than mine now, but my word was unorthodox.
Yeah?
And I think it's because despite this, as Matt said so well, a collective is we still don't know what we get out of this team, and I think just the fact that they're so unpredictable, and I never go into the games knowing who's going to be our starting 11, and it's interesting just how out of left field it can come at you and stuff like that, and so that's tactically how I see the team is just someone that it used to be I'd go to the park and you kind of know already based on training. All right, these are the 11 that have to play, that are our best players. You can't bench them. And now you can probably bench someone like Michael Barrios, which is a weird thing to do, but Robin Fraser has done it plenty of times, and the team goes out there and wins. And then even bringing on Barrios is a completely different, game changer and stuff like that. And so that's where
we've seen Bassett and Barrios kind of become super subs at times, and that really work.
Right.
I think it speaks so much to what you guys have already said, the collective, the lack of a star, right? It also makes it so that you don't exactly know where this team is going to come from, and they can attack you in a variety of ways. This team has a variety of strengths, whether it's that back three, whether it's Yarbrough, who's been amazing in goal, whether it's that midfield that's a real spine, or that attack that's very deep and very. I think unorthodox is good. I think unorthodox is good, and the way they can play with the ball, off the ball, they're an exciting team no matter how
I
you
guess
look at it.
if Dre, if I were to add, if there was a second word that I could use, I would use the word fluid, which kind of spoke to Juan's. This team's extremely unpredictable. It's almost become a meme on Rapids Twitter, where normally it's, so say if kickoff's at the top of the hour, it'll be 8 minutes before. So if the kickoff's at 7, normally at 6:08 p.m. is when they'll tweet out the lineup and everything. And they don't do a graphic like some teams end up doing. And it's almost a joke of, well, Kellyn Acosta's in there. Is he at left back or is he in the midfield? Let me find the other. And I think the fact that I, as someone who covers the team, Juan, who hasn't missed a game in however many years and everything, we're having a discussion of the collective group think of 10 or 12 people to try and figure out this is probably what the lineup is, but there's a B option, there's a C, there's a D, who knows? And if we're trying to do that, I think it shows that the opposition doesn't know what to expect. And there's fluidity where there can almost be a plan for the first 20 minutes unless there's a goal, and they can shift within that as well. This team is amorphous amoeba that is capable of shifting at any individual. That they're constantly able to adapt to the opponent because of how versatile, how collective, and how unorthodox they are.
And adaptable to different game situations as well, right? And I love that you outlined Kellyn Acosta, guy I've been a huge fan of. But even with you here yesterday, I was talking Kellyn's playing either side. He's playing either flank. They don't care. He used to be central mid. I feel like they've got 3 or 4 guys that are interchangeable. They could be your number 6, your number 8, your number 10. Just ride with it, There's going to be some synergy with this one. The word I picked was fearless. Again, because they can, as a collective, go after you because of their depth, because of where they come from. This is just resilient would have been another option, but I think the way this has panned out, it's been a much more fearless team. They don't care what the odds are stacked against them. The way they play at home is very fearless to me. And they can take on any opponent. I think if there was ever proof of that, it's this season and how that's all gone down. So there you go. Frankly, I liked yours too better, but that's okay. That's why you're the experts we brought in. Before we move on to some key players and other stuff, I wanted to ask, what were your expectations going into the season, and when did you really feel like this could be a top 3 seed in the West?
I had them fifth at the regular season. Normally,
As did I.
Yeah, so I think at the beginning of the season, right before like kickoff of the first game, I always tweet out, "Here's what I have the East and the West going as," and then normally after decision day, I'll tweet myself and usually tag in some fan base that deserves to roast me. It ironically ended up being Real Salt Lake fans this year. I had them missing the playoffs, but I had them fifth. I'd say that's the high water mark for where I think most pundits in the space had them. A lot of people had them missing the playoffs. I think majority had them as a bubble team, last team in, first team out and everything. You know, I would say for me, there wasn't necessarily a moment, but I look at the continued improvements in performance against the good teams, particularly kind of the almost narrative arc of the hero's journey they had in their 3 games against Sporting Kansas City, where I think their first game was in late May. They got destroyed. They were down 3-0 at halftime and everything. They come out, they get a 0-0 draw a couple weeks after. I think it was in the month of July. It might have been August, and they were clearly the better team. And then they went to Kansas City. Kansas City started their best 11, and they got out of there with a 1-1 draw. And if Cole Bassett doesn't hit the post in stoppage time, they win that game. And that kind of showed to me, it's like, okay, they've taken every single step against the elite teams, a team they'll play in a conference final, in an MLS Cup. They've got one more step to go, and that's actually beating that team. And they've proven they can outplay them at home than a loss. So I guess, Andre, to answer the question directly, I'd say that third game against Kansas City.
There you go.
For me, I had him also at fifth. The highest I've seen anyone else have the Rapids is my co-host Jared. He had the Rapids as high as third, and so he was almost close to hitting on the Rapids being third. So I always give kudos that you're like one decision day miracle away from being correct on where the Rapids would finish. But for me, I remember vividly when it was early on in the season when it was actually, I think, my first home game because I missed the first one, and so I went to go see that Minnesota game. Minnesota came in, scored 2 early goals, and then the Rapids came back and scored 3-2, and that's when I kind of that's the little hint of like, hey, maybe this team
was a big one,
is worth could be something big. And then when I officially thought of this team as being a top 3 was against Seattle away. I actually came here to watch the game. Seattle ended up beating the Rapids 3-0. The Rapids went down a man as well. Yeah. But if you were just to see the scoreline, you would think, oh, the Rapids got destroyed by Seattle. However, I think you go back and watch that game, whoever had the most possession, whoever had the most positive play, it was all the Rapids.
Right.
So to see the Rapids go into Seattle, play good football, even down a man, I was like, okay, this is a special top 3 team. And it was kind of, we had already built the kind of reputation of, hey, we're probably going to make the playoffs, right? So it was already kind of a certainty. Right. Yeah. But to actually have that in my mind, this is a good team, even through the loss. That's when I thought.
Love that. Before we do get to some key players, and as we've previewed this team, that isn't going to be the easiest exercise. We're going to keep each of you to 3, okay? Because we can't go 20 deep.
Right.
I do this team can go 20 deep.
That's
we'll stick to 3.
An exact quote from Cole Bassett. He told me you would have to go 20 deep before you start to see a drop off in. We have a ball signed from the entire team. Shouts to the Rapids for hooking it up. One of you, lucky viewers, is getting this sent to their home. We're going to have a trivia question coming up, so stay tuned, stay plugged in, because this signed autographed ball by the entire Rapids team could be yours. Just stick with us. There you go.
Now I wish I was a viewer.
Yeah, exactly. I know. It's tough, Juan. They also hooked it up with this scarf. There's a lot of internal discussion of what will happen with that, so trust us. They're slowly tearing this house apart, the Rapids. We're all so excited. Key players, though, Juan, you get to start us off here. Who, whether for this matchup or in this season, who are the 3 guys that really stand out for you as being keys to this roster?
Absolutely. I think for me, there's 3 guys you can absolutely not leave out of the lineup. Like as much as we say like it is a collective team and stuff like that, these 3 guys are irreplaceable in my opinion. The Rapids can and have played without them before, but and they've done really well even without them. But for me, you can't ever leave out William Yarbrough, our goalkeeper. Austin Trusty, who is rumors are that he's going to be leaving to Europe next year. I don't know how valid they are, but he might be not a Rapid next year. And then Jack Price, our captain. So those are my 3 key players.
Yeah, hard to argue with those. A little more of a defensive focus. I like that.
Yes, absolutely.
I've been so offensive obsessed with this team.
Yeah, I mean, it's the entire spine. So you have the goalie, center back, and then midfielder in there. And then you could really put anyone around them. And I'd say, that's the starting 11 for the Rapids, but it needs those 3 for me.
100%. And much like baseball, people always talk about that spine: catcher, pitcher, shortstop, center field. Football's the same exact way. If you don't have the spine, and if you have a strong spine, you're going to have a huge advantage. Who would you highlight, man?
So Juan, you had your spine, I guess, from bottom to top. I'm going to start top to bottom and everything. I think Michael Barrios, whether he's a sub or whether he's a starter, he's been so dynamic. You talk 8 goals, 6 assists. Do I have that right off the top of my head, Juan? I think
I got that confirmed.
How many goals is
I think it's 8 goals and 6 assists.
Yes.
In any case, fantastic offensive piece. This is a guy who was a good piece of the puzzle in Dallas, but he's come in and you could argue potentially been the MVP of the team, been the catalyst for a lot of what they do in transition. Anytime anything's going wrong in terms of what they're trying to do in build up, get the ball out to one of the center backs or somebody who can ping a 40-yard ball, find Marco Barrios in space, you will create opportunities. Kellyn Acosta, I'll argue Jack Price is the best leader and probably the best two-way midfielder the Rapids have with what he does on set pieces, but you want somebody who is going to antagonize the opponent's number 10. You want someone who's going to gum up the middle and make it impossible for them to get forward. Kellyn's proven that internationally. He's proven that at the club level. And you mentioned Austin Trusty. I'm going to go with his veteran wingman here, Juan, and say Danny Wilson. The Scottish Salmon has been fantastic in the air on set pieces, and I would say Austin Trusty has all of the physical attributes, but I would argue more that Danny Wilson is the organizer, the brains of the defense in terms of how they go about spacing, what do they do in terms of communication and everything, and then Austin just goes out there and takes care of business and everything, and Danny just has to pick up some of the pieces because of how well organized they are. I'll admit part of that is also because of the communication they're getting from Jack Price and Will Yarbrough.
Yeah, and I think it's a fun 3-man line because they have that freedom, right? Austin's able to use that athleticism, hunt a little more, cover more ground. He's obviously so good in the air. And then you have Wilson, who's more of that stabilizing anchor.
Yeah, it's almost like an organizational safety and then a striker. I guess
exactly.
Lawless Abubakar, especially with the fact that typically the Rapids attack a little bit more down their left, so the fullback's a little bit closer. I guess he's more the shutdown corner and everything.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
So Matt, 3 years ago, if I told you that you'd be saying Danny Wilson would be one of our key figures, how would you react?
I would say Danny Wilson is not a member of the Colorado Rapids in 3 years.
Because that's the thing is Danny Wilson started off, a lot of fans did not like him.
Yeah.
And I remember being the ardent Danny Wilson defender, and I would always say, no, give this guy some time. And sure enough, he's proven himself to be a key member of the Colorado Rapids.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I outlined that. I don't know if you were setting me up for this plug or anything, Juan, but if guys want, I can send you guys a link and you can retweet it to my Substack article for HTHL, where I kind of talk about his arc and how he kind of evolved within the team and how Robin's arrival was kind of perfect, and I would argue Austin Trusty and Lawless Abubakar are coming in as well. And I think one thing that's kind of done him a bit of a disservice, Andre, I would say a lot of your listeners are probably discovering the Rapids for the first time. There's a number who are very active socially or on social media and everything. Danny's more of a quiet guy. He does his football and everything, and so I think a lot of the crap that he got, when Jack Price was playing poorly or getting all those yellow cards in 2017 or 2018, he was coming out and saying like, I need to be better, engaging with the fans and everything, thank you for the support and everything. And Danny's not on Twitter, he's not on Instagram. Right. He's just a quiet guy, and I think he's just quietly been like, oh yeah, Danny Wilson's really good and everything. and now we have to finally acknowledge that.
I mean, I love that. I love it. Put some respect on Danny Wilson's name.
The redemption arc is complete.
Absolutely. Damn straight. Love that we featured some guys like that. And to kind of wrap up the Rapids, other key records, events, stats. Second most goals scored in a season since the 90s. I think it's only the second time this millennium they've gone over 50 goals scored. Best goal difference in club history, plus 16. That's a stat I really give a lot of credence to in most sports. There can be some fluky years. I remember 16. They're so tough defensively, but if you looked at goal difference, it was like this plus 16 to me really shows this team's do not mess. Only lost one game at home all year.
The one Juan missed, I should point out.
Yes.
Okay.
Juan, what do we got to do to make sure you're going to be at the Western Conference Final?
I'm gonna be at there one, but yeah, the one I missed. It's funny. I say in 2016 we lost. We won every home game except the last one, and this year it seems like we're gonna win every home game but the first one. So it's like a switch there.
Oh, I love that so much. Any final stats, notes, tidbits you wanna add to about the home team?
Most points in club history, breaking the 2016 record and breaking it with a win on decision day. This is the best Rapids team that has ever existed.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
That's why I say no cup or no cup. I mean, I've had a lot of fun. It's the most I've traveled to see the team out of state. So I mean, to be, to not only witness, like 80% of home games, but then a small percent of the away games as well. I'm just like, this has been an amazing kind of season and thing to be a part of.
Absolutely. Love that. Thank you guys. Went a little longer on that, and that's what I wanted because the Rapids deserve all the shine we are giving them. Let's go to our first interview. We're going to take a quick break as you enjoy Cole Bassett with me. We're going to be right back to preview this Western Conference semi matchup and a whole lot more betting content, more interviews, more from these guys. Stay tuned. And we're here with Cole Bassett, Rapids midfielder, attacking weapon, however you would define yourself, Cole. I'll defer to you on this one. How's it going, man? You guys have been on a long break. What's that been like?
Yeah, it's been fun. We've gotten to work on some things that you don't normally get to work on during the season just because games are coming at you so fast. But we've had time to, work on attacking stuff like more 1v1s, which, I love to do. And also defensively, those guys have gotten to work on little things that, they don't normally get to spend time on just because they love to do load management during the season to keep us fresh. But, we've had a couple weeks to get back at it and push ourselves on the training field.
Yeah, how huge is that now that you know your opponent, being able to get all that prep in? Obviously, played Portland twice already, second to last home game, so pretty recently. What's that going to be like after that 2-0 win? Then you guys, when you played them in Portland in September, you broke like the longest scoreless sheet in their club history. I think they were like on a three-game scoreless, and that was a wacky 2-2 tie with them and 10 men for like 50 minutes. So what do you expect in this third match?
Yeah, I mean, I think this will be a little bit different than the last match we played against them. They didn't have their DP sub up Blanco, and he's kind of their key to, how they move, everything revolves around him basically. So we'll have to keep eye of him, and we know that he's kind of the danger. But they've also got so many weapons in attack. Their whole front four, and then Diego Char sitting behind him, are all dangerous in the counterattack. So we got to be wary of that, especially when we have the ball, which is, tough to think about that, while we're attacking, that actually might be when they're most dangerous. But that's what we've been working on in training this week is, keeping care of the ball, and also behind the ball, the defenders are, talking and figuring it out so that the attackers can go do their thing.
Yeah, those everything's heightened in a one game elimination. Gotta be on top of all of that. Tell me, man, you guys are the lowest payroll in the MLS. I think within the first month, I was seeing the odds were still had you 50-1 to win the cup. How did you guys end up as the number one seed? What is it that's made this group so special? And frankly, like an anomaly in world-class football where you just don't see like the lowest payroll be at the top of a table.
Yeah, I mean, I think I heard somebody say it's a little bit like Moneyball, the Moneyball team of MLS. Yeah. It is a little weird, but honestly, as a group inside the locker room, we're not really surprised. I mean, a lot of people outside of it are, but we've had a quiet confidence about ourselves in the locker room and within the coaching staff that we have a team that could push for first place. And that was kind of our goal all along. We had incremental steps of what we wanted to accomplish this year. And first was making the playoffs. Second was getting a home playoff game. And then first was, trying to win the West or win Supporter Shield. And we accomplished 3 of those so far, and now we're trying to go for a cup. So I think within the locker room, it's just the mentality of the guys. There's a confidence, but also we continue to work hard throughout the whole year. And I think as the year went on, we grew in confidence, and then, our hard work paid off.
To someone who's just getting into this team, how would you describe this group, whether it's the personalities off the pitch or the way you guys play on the pitch that makes you guys that makes you unique?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually with the team, I've probably been one of the longest people that's been here actually compared to most people.
Crazy.
But there's a couple of us that have stayed. I think I got here in 2018, and there's been a couple of us that arrived that same year, and we've been through it all. I mean, we were worst in the league, I believe, that year in 2018, and now we're best in the West this year, and kind of seen that growth. But I think it is down to the locker room. A couple of years ago, we didn't have like the full locker room on board. It didn't seem like people were committed. They'd show up like right when training has to be. They'd leave right after. Nobody was really in there bonding. And now it's like everybody's here a couple hours before training. They stay after training. We've got a good group. The past couple of weeks, we've gotten to go to events together, such as the Nuggets game and stuff like that, and kind of just use it as team bonding. And I feel like that's the biggest reason is why we're successful this year. Is we're so close that when we get on the field, we fight for each other and we win together.
Well, and also it seems like that kind of team where the depth, you guys can rely so much on just next man up. It's kind of an empty mantra for some teams. You guys seem to really live by that, though.
Yeah. I mean, I was saying this earlier to somebody. I think you probably have to go about 20 deep in our team before you actually are like, the quality might drop a little bit. We've just got so many pieces this year that can help, and even the guys that didn't play too much this year, there's a couple of my old teammates in the academy that are still coming through. I mean, They played their roles when they came in. Ollie Larraz and Seb Anderson, those guys, even when they stepped on the field, there wasn't really a drop of quality either. So I think that's special about our team this year is that, when we look back, hopefully holding an MLS Cup, is that so many guys contributed to this team and nobody really feels left out. A lot of other teams use maybe 14, 15 guys. We've probably used around 25 this year. So I think everybody feels included in what we're doing here, and that's why it's so special.
Well, speaking to that, you are a Colorado kid. You've come up through the academy and, reportedly, even in this last European transfer window, turned down some important opportunities and offers. Why was that? And what does your hometown club mean to you?
I mean, it means the world to me to be able to play here in front of friends and family. I grew up here. I witnessed the MLS Cup that they won back in 2010. I followed them since I was probably 8 or so. And, I even got coached by one of the guys that won the cup. And now I'm a teammate with Drew Moore, who won the cup back then as well. So it's been pretty cool for me to kind of see it firsthand now and be a part of it and kind of just help inspire younger kids that are also coming up. Because when I was a kid, there wasn't really any kids that were in the first team. I mean, there was nobody like from the area that, you could relate to. And I think for me and Sammy Vines, at least, the past couple of years, we kind of embraced that and kind of took it on as a sense of pride that we wanted to show the rest of the Colorado community that it is possible if you continue to work hard, that you can be here and not only just be here, but, we're a big part of this team and we've done a lot for this team. So I think it's pretty cool for us to see that, throughout the year that we've continued to grow and be such a key part of the squad.
What was the primary motivation in wanting to stay and see this season through?
There's just something special about this team. I mean, I could see it back then, and it was tough because I've dreamed about going to Europe, and the offers, they were pretty tough to turn down, if I'm being honest. But there's not many opportunities, especially here in MLS, where it's a league where each year it seems to change who the top dog is. There isn't really a consistent like Big Six like there is in the Premier League, where you probably guess who's going to win it. This league changes so much, so. When you have a chance to go after something and win hardware, it was tough to turn down, especially since I'm a hometown kid, and maybe being able to end up with hardware and your last season could really mean a lot to me, and it would mean a lot to my whole family as well, staying around and being around them and helping this team win something.
Well, let's get that focus back onto that hardware then. What's the key to victory in this Western Conference semifinal?
I think it's similar to what I said earlier, is we got to be wary of their counterattack. I think a stat that they're the lowest team in possession. They honestly they're comfortable without the ball. Kind of a scary thing is that they don't really need the ball for that long to go score. So for us, I think if we finish a couple chances early and the game starts to open up, we're also very good on the counterattack. So if by a couple goals and with the depth that we have coming off the bench, I think we can put a couple away then as well. But if we get off to a hot start where we're ahead by a couple goals and they continue to get stretched, I think that's better for us.
Absolutely. Cole, really appreciate your time. Go get them. Best of luck on Thanksgiving, man. We'll be rooting for you.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thank you.
That was Cole Bassett. A true joy to talk to him. Great kind of insights, breakdown on the game. But let's get your opinions. We know who the Rapids are playing. They're playing the Timbers, tied in September 2-2. Kind of a wacky game with the Timbers down to 10 men from the 42nd minute on. We're just saying on air, wacky stat. The Rapids break longest scoreless streak defensively for the Timbers. At that point, 3 consecutive games with a clean sheet. Rapids end that, but then it was kind of a wild 2-2 tie. And then in just their second to last home game, Colorado beats Portland. Again, more convincing. Galvan with 2 impossible assists. Just phenomenal game by him. I think that's where I'd start. The advantage that the Rapids have down the flanks. Juan, how do you see this matchup playing out? How would you describe the Timbers to maybe a more casual MLS fan?
Yeah, I mean, I think one key stat that a lot of people look at is a thing called expected goals. And expected goals is pretty much the quality of chances that your shots produce and how how well you played in the attacking half of the game. The Timbers had their worst game on expected goals. They played a .3 against the Rapids. So the Rapids effectively shut down the Timbers completely in that home game that we had. And so I think
that's incredible.
Yeah, so the Timbers had their worst game against us this season already. And to kind of come back, they're going to want to do a lot better than they did that night. And so the biggest thing you got to look out for the Timbers is just their the counterattack. They managed to hit Minnesota. If you watch that game on not only like a set piece, but mostly just kind of waiting for Minnesota to attack and then hitting them back and scoring. I mean, Blanco scored an amazing goal, and sure enough, I think those types of goals you're gonna have to make sure you don't concede.
Yeah, I think an early goal could really be a hard one, though I was impressed. Portland gets down early against Minnesota, still came back, even though that didn't play into your hand. What are you looking for in this matchup, Matt? And as Juan points out, but Cole Bassett in that interview just did, yes, Portland not great in that last matchup, but also no Sebastian Blanco. So I think things will be different in this one.
Yeah, it has to start with Sebastian Blanco. He is their MVP. He is their key attacking piece. Everything that they do attacking-wise either starts with him or runs through him. And you saw, I was talking with another member of the media at training today and everything about the 2 goals that they scored and how, there's nothing about what Minnesota did on those 2 plays that led to Blanco's both goals that are characteristic of the Rapids in the buildup, nor in the reaction as well. Blanco getting the ball at the top of the box after it's cleared out poorly. Danny Wilson or Austin Trusty would clear that better. And then he gets the ball and immediately just has space to dribble into. Kellyn Acosta, as I mentioned, one of my key players and everything, he's not going to be given that space. So it's simple. If Sebastian Blanco is the best player on the field on Thursday, then I think you've got a real 50, you've got a coin flip of a game. If the Rapids are able to neutralize him, I think what they'll do collectively, some of the issues Portland's had at center back, albeit Laris Mabiala was fantastic on Sunday. This is a team that's weak on set pieces. This is a team that will be coming off 3 days rest at altitude. If it turns into a game of counterattack chances, it could be chaos and it could be high scoring. If you shut them down from a counterattack standpoint, and if you give Blanco no space on the ball whatsoever, they'll be able to deal with that. I think the other big question that I have is from an officiating standpoint, given Portland are masters of the dark arts and are very, very crafty, can get in the heads of other players.
Veteran team.
Yes. Diego Chara is a player who, for all the stats he has about how many yellow cards he has, he should have probably another 100 based on, what he's done with what he's been able to get away with. And so this is a game that has the potential to be ripe for CONCACAFing, and I think the Rapids are emotionally resilient enough to get away with that. I think whether it's Lalas Abubakar or Kellyn Acosta, they're able to do a fair bit of CONCACAFing, but this could gain, the more counterattacky and open this game gets, and the more almost it turning into a bar fight it gets, could favor Portland. So cooler heads should prevail.
Yeah, the D definitely the biggest weakness. This is a team, only RSL has conceded more goals of MLS playoff teams. They're the only 2 teams to have conceded over 50, which is remarkable. yet they won as many games as the Rapids did. Both these teams have 17 dubs, and that just speaks to the MLS, the parity. Like, at the end of the day, these are all going to be really close. And as much as people will trash the defense, everyone will also name the front four. They'll name all four by name. It starts with Blanco. Felipe Moro obviously is very big. Not just Diego Chara back there, but his brother. I thought he was the catalyst in getting them back in that game. And, Asprilla. Asprilla is kind of a wild card. A
playoff Asprilla.
Mr. November.
Yeah. Yes, he
Very,
is the Mr.
very
November
dangerous.
of MLS.
So you gotta be careful with them. You really do. Let's go into the wordplay though. If you had one word to describe the Timbers, what would it be? Juan, let's start with you.
I started with fallible. There's a lot.
Fallible.
There's a
Nice.
lot to this team that 1 week they're destroying teams like RSL 6-1. And then they're they're like losing, going to Colorado the following week, and then it's not repeating that same performance and stuff like that. And so ultimately the back line is their biggest kind of question mark between Zuparic, Mabiala, I don't think, and who's the Tui Loma. They don't have kind of two that you can really trust as being the two main guys to lead and anchor a back line. It really is kind of heads or tails whether or not you get good performances from either of those guys.
Matt, your word?
Crafty. This is a veteran team. This is a team with a lot of playoff experience. I don't know whether or not we'll count this in the context of playoff experience, but they won the MLS's back tournament back in Central Florida in 2020. They've been in these situations before. They've been doubted before. Are they old? Yes. So they probably have a lot of soft tissues that need some massaging between now and Thursday. But this is a team that has won an MLS Cup. This is a team that has been to an MLS Cup in the last 4 years, and they've been in these situations, and they know how to rile teams up in a way that is going to benefit them. I would say this matchup would be terrifying me if it was last year's Rapids team. I think the experience, everything that Robin Fraser has said, and he's told this story a couple of times, the 3-0 loss against Minnesota, he goes over to shake the hands with the Minnesota head coach, and he's almost smiling because he's already like, this is going to be so good for us next year. We're going to be better in preseason than we were last year. I think the memory and the sting from last year, and also from the 2-2 draw against Portland, has this team hyper-focused on not making that happen again, which is perfect for not being vulnerable to what the Timbers are best at.
Love that. I went with opportunistic. They are built for tournament play. There are some teams that are just like that. I grew up an AC Milan fan in Milan. Some years they were just terrible domestically, but you got them in a knockout stage. There was no messing with them. And that's Portland. They're built for this kind of knockout stage, not necessarily the fluky regular season. They're old, but they're also like in that 2-2 game, I swear they had 2 scoring chances and they put them both in the back of the net. That's the kind of team they are. You got to be really careful with them because they can take advantage of these opportunities, and they're built for this time of year. They just are. We're going to come right back to preview that matchup, get into some games, and then get into some bets, which I'm really looking forward to it. And before that, though, ticket giveaway. 2 tickets here to the Rapids game Thursday. Buzzes, the stadium might be pretty full, huh? So let's get even more people out there. Go to Twitter, check out the giveaway there. We're going to give away 2 more tickets on the show. We're going to another interview, this one with Kellyn Acosta. We talked about what a key he is. He had some great insights on the matchup against Portland. We'll come back with the winner. Stay tuned. We're still giving away this ball. Lots more to come. And welcome in to our guy, Kellyn Acosta. Thank you, Kellyn, for being here. What's it been like prepping for this Western Conference semis? You guys have had an absurdly long break. I imagine you're not used to this.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, luckily, gone with the national team. Got a couple games in there. So it wasn't too long ago since I played a game, but for others, a little bit longer. And it's been quite some break, but we finally know who our opponent is.
Yeah.
Playing against the Portland Timbers. So, now we're, keying in. I mean, before we were kind of preparing for either Minnesota or Portland, but now it's just nice to know who we're finally facing. And, Yeah, it's gonna be a great game. I mean, Portland's a good team, but we're playing at home, and it's a game that we're looking to win.
Yeah, I mean, you guys played them just your second to last home game. You beat them 2-0 in October. You went there in mid-November and kind of broke like the longest shutout streak in their club history. They were coming off 3 clean sheets, and then that was kind of a wild one with a red card, and then they came back twice. What are you expecting in this third matchup from those guys?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the past results were positive in our favor, but this is a totally different game. This is playoffs, and it's where the real competition starts. And just seeing them last night, they got guns blazing. I mean, Sebastian Blanco put in a good shift for them, 2 goals. Is a key player, and Portland has a history of doing well in the postseason. So for us, we got to be mindful of them, and we can't think about the past results that we've had, and this is a totally different game, totally different challenge, and we got to be up for it and ready. I mean, they ain't coming in with momentum, and we had to bring it and be aggressive and bring the intensity from the minute one, and with that we build into the game and hopefully get the result.
Absolutely. I love that you said that, because I've been thinking so much about your career and how you broke out in those great FC Dallas teams that were kind of the envy of the whole league. Like there was really some buzz and excitement about what you guys were doing. And you were the number 1 seed in the West back-to-back years. So you've done this before, but you also have experience with being the 1 seed and not winning the cup at the end of it all. So what are you taking from that experience, and what can you bring from that and kind of instill in your young teammates?
Yeah, I mean, obviously back then the game was a little bit different. You play 2 legs, so you get another opportunity to get a result, and that'd be kind of strategic in that sense, because you play you play away game first, and then obviously you finish off with second leg at home. But I mean, this game is do or die.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a game of little details, and it's not forgiving. We get scored on early. I mean, obviously you get punched in the mouth a little bit. It's tough to kind of climb yourself out of a hole. So I mean, it's important that you take it play by play and be confident. I mean, it's a good thing that a lot of us had experience last year, playing a playoff game and know what it takes. I mean, obviously we didn't get the result that we wanted in Minnesota, but going into this year, we had that sour taste in our mouth, and we were able to have a successful year, but definitely not done yet. And now we can't look too much in the future, but what is the now, which is playing against Portland at home. And, I just take it game by game.
Does this team kind of remind you of those Dallas teams? Like the fact that they're homegrown and there's just like, I don't know, the way they play, like there's a depth, there's just an entertainment level to these teams that reminds me of each other.
Right. Yeah. I mean, definitely. Because I think both of those teams that I've been a part of, we didn't have those glamorous signings. We just had guys, put our best foot forward and work for each other, that are intense and aggressive, and whoever we're playing, we're going to give that team a game. And so I see a lot of similarities in that sense. And obviously, we have some great talent and individual players that have really stepped up this year.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, like I said before, I mean, the past is great and what we did in the season is great, but this is a whole nother season. And, the first game starts now, and 3 games, and we reach our goal, which is holding the cup. But game by game, Portland's first on the list, and like I said, you gotta bring it, because I know that they're keen on getting a result, especially playing at home now. They're playing that way, so they're gonna be more intense and more aggressive from the first minute. So we gotta be ready to match that, and playing at home and having that advantage with our crowd and the altitude and everything comes with it. We gotta take the game to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And let me ask you, coming into the season, you guys had the lowest payroll in the MLS. I think within the first month, you guys were like 50-1 favorites to win the cup. How'd you guys get from there to being the number 1 seed in the West and like a legit contender this year?
Yeah, game by game. I think it shows the resilience of the group. I mean, teams and people have counted us out. And, within our circle, we believed in each other. We believed what we were doing, believed in the coaching staff, the system, everything about it. And it's kind of just shown throughout the year. Sometimes we didn't have our best games, but we were able to find a way to win.
Yeah.
And I think that's crucial in these games that, sometimes you're not going to play the best of football and it might not be pretty, but at the end of the day, we'll take the result and move on. Just like Thursday. This game is going to have, probably a little bit of everything. We've got to be able to adapt and conquer. And so it's going to take play by play, but I think just having some of these games where, we didn't play our best and we were able to win, it was huge. And from a growth standpoint, it helps us know that, we can get the job done.
That's crucial. And looking forward, what's going to be that key to this game?
Key to the game, obviously you got to stop their counterattack. They're a team in the transition that is, very, very dangerous and very effective. With guys like Blanco, scored a brace on yesterday. Spria's been having a positive season, more up top. Both Diego Chara and his brother, Yemi Chara, guys that, once they, you get caught sleeping for 1 second, they're breaking the goal. And a team with that quickness is tough tough to stop. So I think transition is huge and just winning the midfield. I think most games are won when you're conquering the midfield. So it's gonna be keen for us to clog that and obviously play our game, which string some passes together, get in front of goal, and then just be clinical. Sometimes these games there's a few chances, but you need to be clinical and then obviously being sound defensively. First and foremost, our mindset going to every game is getting a shutout and letting our attackers do the rest, right? And that's what they get paid the bucks to do. And we're hoping that from the defensive line, if we get a shutout, I think good things will happen.
Outstanding. Cole, we just talked to Cole Bassett. He underlined defending that counter and, not letting them slip by you too much. And I know you guys in the midfield will be keen on not keeping that midfield line too high to then get a hit on the counter there. Thank you so much, Kellyn. We'll be rooting for you. Best of luck on Thanksgiving. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're back. Thank you to Kellyn Acosta, U.S. men's national team's own. Thank you to Omar Gonzalez and the Rapids for helping us with that. Listen to Juanners. What he's going to say is going to be key for you the next 2 seconds. First one to answer him, free ticks right now. Go.
Trivia question for everyone there. What is Brian Galvan's jersey number?
We will be monitoring the chat. Let's get a winner in there. Let's get seats. Yeah, free tickets. Yeah.
That's only because he's one of my favorite players, and I think he's going to be big for us in the future.
He was huge in that, as we said, in that last Timbers matchup. Pablo, nicely done. DM us on Twitter or email info@vdnvr.com. We will get you those tickets emailed over right away. Pablo Vera, my man. Congratulations on that. Great stuff. All right, we're doing a holiday-inspired game. We're building the perfect Thanksgiving meal, the perfect Pidsgiving meal for this matchup against the Timbers. You need to give me your main entree, your turkey, your most important key of the game, your stuffing and mashed potatoes, your secondary keys, and then that gravy on top. Just that little cherry on top to make this chef's kiss, the perfect Western Conference semis. Matt, why don't you start us off?
Stopping Sebastian Blanco. He is the turkey. Go out, hunt him, soak him in the brine and everything, and get a nice little char on his skin. Be on him like that glaze on your turkey.
Little 4 hours in the oven, and he'll be just fine.
We'll stick to 90 minutes.
Yeah, the Timbers number 10 will be just as you prefer him. What's going to be your big sides, your go-to stuffing and mashed potatoes, your secondary key then?
Intensity. I think when this team is focused, when they're locked in for all 90 minutes on what they're doing in every facet of the game, they've proven that they're a very difficult team to beat. When they play that way, they've never been outplayed at home this season. They do that independent of what else happens with Blanco. They give themselves a very good chance to win this game.
And coming into this game, what would be your, just the gravy, just that sprinkle of perfection to really make this the ideal Rapids win in the postseason.
I'd love to see a sellout of Dick's Sporting Goods Park. That did not happen this season. They got just over 17,000 for the 4th of July game, just under 17, or no, just over 16, for Decision Day. As Juan, I think, was saying before we recorded, they did not sell out the 2 home playoff games, but were very, very close. I would love to see a full capacity DSG. We see when the crowd's there, when they arrive early, festive atmosphere and everything, they can get behind the team, and that really spurs them on. That would be the key component if it's close or goes to extra time or penalties.
Hear, hear. Let's build your perfect Thanksgiving meal for this Rapids game. What's your main entree, Juan?
Pretty similar to Matt's. We do have some crossover there, but my most important thing is that the Rapids have to get into a rhythm early in the match. I think you're coming off 18 days with no game. I think finding your footing is kind of going to be the most important thing to winning the game, because you don't want to go in a situation where you're playing the game and then sure enough they everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face. And
that's
if
right.
Timbers come out early, smash and grab goal, it's gonna be tough to come back from that sort of thing.
What's your secondary key? Those yummy sides.
So similar to Matt, I think shutting down Blanco.
Yeah, and
it goes to show how much this guy is that much of a game changer for the Timbers. Is that Blanco? For me, I think once the team gets into their rhythm, that's when you can focus on Blanco. I mean, it'd be nice to get that goal early and then kind of defend Blanco from then on, making sure he doesn't change the game in the way that they would really want to hope to.
Very nice. And then what's that gravy?
I think using subs effectively is ultimately how you finish off the meal. I'm thinking kind of in 60th plus minute.
Right.
How do the Rapids kind of control the game, make sure everything kind of stays within the means of the win there, and I think bringing on I don't know who will be coming off the bench, whether it be a Barrios, a Galvan, a Lewis, a Baji. Right. We have anyone on the front attacking line can come in and kind of close out the game effectively, and I think that'll lead to a win on Thursday.
Love that. My main entree, my turkey, my glazed ham, whatever your preference is, I want this to turn into a track meet. I want that extra reps, that extra depth, that youth that the Rapids have to be an advantage when they don't have possession. Press them high. When you have those chances, get direct, get vertical quickly, especially down the flanks. That's an advantage they have. That's how Portland got scored on against the Minnesota. Force them to get disjointed, to lose their shape, and then I think the game can be yours. The secondary keys, my stuffing and mashed potatoes, it's stay mistake-free. Kellyn touched on it. I do think these modern football teams, like the Rapids, can get so caught up in creating chances, right? We want to be the team that creates more chance. You kind of forget to bury them once in a while. And like Kellyn said, these are big games. You're going to have to do that. Falling behind early, to me, is part of being mistake-free. Don't let them suck you into any of those dark arts that they can do. Don't get any cards on you. Stay mistake-free. Play your game. Cherry on top for me, call me a homer, would be Cole Bassett being able to score, post galore. He's the local kid. He's actually one of the more tenured guys on the team. I would love for him to get that winner in the postseason. So, yeah, that would be the gravy on top here. Let's get into some bets. Stay tuned. Yes, we've got the super chat. Yeah,
really quickly. Shout out to Scott Carpenter, $10 super chat.
Very nice, Scott. What you got for us?
Don't need to read this on air. Just want to show full support for DNVR Rapids and hope it sticks long term. Pumped to learn more about the Rapids and U.S. and women's national teams.
Right on. Thank you, Scott. We appreciate it. Shouts to you. And stay tuned, Scott, everyone else, right at the end of the show, you will win. Someone will win this autographed Rapids ball. Let's get into the bets. Rapids, big favorites as all of the home teams in tonight's games and the one Thursday nighter. Do we have... Okay. The odds on that game you hear?
Minus 125
Minus
for the Rapids.
150. I've seen
For the Rapids to win. I mean, within regular time.
Just so
And,
you guys know, Juan is a big betting guy.
Yes,
He loves
yes.
to bet on anything he can find.
Yeah, and then
The draw at plus 320, the Timbers at plus 400. Overwhelming favorites minus 295 to advance.
yep.
Yeah. Is there any good odds here on the Rapids?
Yes, I got the two. There's two that speak out to me that are good value. Rapids. I think it's like I don't know what it's called, but it's Rapids to win by 1-0, 2-0, or 3-0. So that's one of them. That's at plus
Basically
one.
a clean sheet win bet then.
Yes, but if they score 4-0, you're out of luck. So there's that at plus 135. Another one that's kind of similar is Rapids and over 2.5. So that's a game parlay. So that's Rapids to win and then to cover the goal totals. That'll be also at plus 135.
That's 2.5 for the whole game, not just
Yes,
the Rapids.
so it could be 2-1 Rapids and your bet wins, 3-1 Rapids and your bet wins, and then ultimately for my final bet, the one that I'll definitely put some money on, is very a juiced up line. So careful for all the tail responsibly. But Rapids minus 1.5 is at plus 550.
There you go. Those are some great ones. Just Rapids to have a clean sheet, plus 180. And Matt, what are you feeling? Do we go over 2.5? Do we go over 3.5 goals? Over 2.5 minus 165, over 3.5 plus 155. That's for the entire game, not just Colorado.
I'd bet it on being a 2-1 win for the Rapids, so I guess I'd take the over on the 2.5 and the under on the 3.5. I think there's goals in this game. I think there's attacking options for both teams. I think like you said, I think Andre earlier in the show, I think the key thing is who gets that first goal and when they end up scoring. But I think at some point, once the Rapids have a lead, they're just going to be so focused on shutting it down. If it turns into a huge high scoring game and everything, then I think, it would have to turn into a track meet where somebody gets sent off or it just turns into absolute chaos. And I just think, especially given as fantastic as that decision day result was for the Rapids, I think Robin Fraser was really upset getting the lead and then giving up 2 goals and everything. That's just going to be the first thing priority for them, is for them to get a clean sheet. They're the more fit team. They've got the better goalkeeper and anything. Worst case scenario, we go to penalties. Yarborough makes one save, and then we're end up being okay. I think the key thing for them is get the clean sheet first, focus on the attack second. And in that, I don't think it'll be that high scoring by MLS standards, as we're looking right now, and it's already Nashville 1, Orlando 1 in the 23rd minute. So chaos reigns in the Music City.
You love to see that. I'm intrigued by some props. Player to score on a header, Dominic Baji, plus 1,000.
That's a good one.
I
like
could
that.
see
that one right now.
I could see that. Cole Bassett to have 3 or more shots. Don't need to be on target, just 3 or more shots, plus 120.
If he starts,
If
I
he
think
starts.
that's a good one.
If he starts, yes,
That's a good
that is
bet.
the key.
If he comes off the bench, it'd have to go 120 minutes.
Well, then the bet wouldn't count because it's within.
It's within 90.
It's
or
okay.
they'd have to be like down and he's just gone crazy. But 3 is a big ask.
I'd wait
Yeah.
for the lineup then on that.
And 2+ on target, Bassett at plus 330. But you can bet on any of the Rapids options here. So that's another intriguing one. Diego Rubio, for example, minus 200 on that.
To score?
No. 3+ shots.
Oh yeah,
Nothing on target, just shots.
yeah, him to shoot the ball. I wouldn't take that.
It almost seems cheesy to me. Like the you're not getting adequate juice.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you've been following the Rapids, and if you kind of look at the stats, Rubio is one of the best passing forwards in MLS. So he's very much more willing to hand the ball off to the next guy as opposed to trying to score or shoot. So I'd kind of stay away from that one as the Rapids resident bettor that bets almost every game.
I mean, how could you not? I wish we had better odds on player to score here, but there's a lot of jumbled stuff with cards and stuff. But if you had to place a bet on someone to score in this one, Portland or Colorado, who would you put your money on?
Dominic Badji, set pieces, him on the headers, slow center backs and everything in transition. I'll take Dominic Badji, assuming he starts.
Yahir agrees with you.
So I'm a firm believer that with expected goals, if you don't get them now, if you don't get them, when you were due, you'll get them eventually. And I think if you look at statistically wise, the person that's been due for well over 5 goals is Cole Bassett. And as he said, you wanted that Cole Bassett goal. I think you may as well bet him to score as well. I think he's amped.
He's due, man.
He's due, and there's a reason why he stayed. It's not just to be kind of
as we saw in that interview. Yeah, absolutely.
He came to kind of cement his legacy early on for the Rapids, and I think a goal in the playoffs does that just for him.
He's a man with a purpose, 100%. Before we go to our final thoughts, though, we are giving you that trivia question. Tune in, get on Google, do whatever you have to do, because we need your answer. We need it now because this ball needs a home, signed by every player on the Rapids. Matt, would you do the honors?
One quick minute. While they get to answer, we'll play the Facu video.
Okay, sounds good. Yep, sounds good. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, so listeners, 2016 was the last time the Colorado Rapids were in the MLS Cup playoffs. They played the LA Galaxy in that. Who scored the goal for the Rapids in the home match? That game did go to penalties, not counting penalties. From the run of play, who scored the goal for the Rapids against the Galaxy in the 2016 MLS Cup playoffs?
Who forced those penalties by putting the Rapids up 1-0 through 90? Great question.
Golazo.
Great moment in Rapids. Still have chills thinking
one
about
of the
it
best
sometimes.
goals in Colorado Rapids history.
And then love the subsequent shootout. The Nuggets have gone Rapids crazy. We're seeing Aaron Gordon with a Rapids hat. There's Facu.
Ooh, he kissed the badge. He kissed the badge.
It's the old school one, too.
That's
Facu mi rey.
Yeah.
Let's go, dude. He kissed the badge. That is awesome.
How much do you love that? And I saw it as presser right now before the game. Michael Malone rocking a kit similar to yours, Juan. So
nice.
The Nuggets are all in. And you love to see that. And we have some Gashis in here. Congrats, Carter. This ball is yours. Adidas official MLS ball signed by the entire team, courtesy of the Colorado Rapids. True kings and queens over there to let us do that. I cannot thank you enough, guys. This has been a pleasure. I cannot thank you enough for tuning in and following along. Go on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, tell your friends, share that link. We've got until Thanksgiving for this great game. Thank you to producer Yahir. And Yahir and I will be reacting to the game immediately after on YouTube once he gets done with some press conferences. And we can't wait to do this again next week. That's all we'll say. That's all we'll say, baby. Go Rapids. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
See you there.